So, hello and welcome back. It's Aarnimetsa and
Dayah.
from PokerImania.com, and we are back with our 45-minute training. So today we are going to talk about mostly on the starting stages, like where the anti-change has been made. Like from 100 to 200 onwards, there is no change. The game goes on exactly the same way. But before that, there is going to be some changes. There is a lot more to play for, so there is a lot more to steal, and also there is a lot more to defend yourselves from steals as well.
That is true.
And when I have got another limper already, then I'm going to limp behind as a set mine with these pocket fives.
If you had been the first actor, would you have bet that pocket pair? Yeah.
I would have pretty much bet with any pocket pair in that situation. But when we are or there's already one player that has limped, I think that then it's going to be worth more to limp here and not grow the pot early on. So we are going to be set mining when we are having about 30 big blinds, or like if we are having a limp pot, then we are set mining on most spots where we are having over 30 big blinds, or when we are having about over 20 big blinds if we are having like two limpers ahead of ourselves already.
So we are concentrating on 45 men. Sit and goes today, and you're gonna ask us any questions about those or poker generally, or anything else you might wanna know about us or our site pokerimania.com or basically whatever. We are not answering probably every single question you are asking, but if you have reasonable questions, shoot us.
I think we have had quite some questions that we have answered.
Yeah, we have had some previous MTT nights, and those has lasted for hours and hours, and unfortunately you get pretty tired after a while when you're just talking and you're playing, and then we're just chit-chatting everything, and it has been pretty wide subjects, so to say, sometimes. Everything between this word and the other one. So there's a question from Danita.
Yeah, on pocket fives at bottom right, what pair would you raise versus limper? Eights plus. I think eights plus is reasonable.
So spot on. Well done.
Yeah, it's going to be either sevens or eights. So I think we are getting more value out of those small pocket pairs if we are not raising them ourselves. There's the final table that we are having antes on.
So 7 places paid. So there is the bubble. It's not coming quite yet, but you need to remember that even though it's not that huge step after all. But of course we are aiming for the big monies, top places.
And I'm like, what? 7 places paid. There's a bubble. Where?
I'm sorry, but you're not quite there yet.
So I got panicked for no good reason.
Yeah. But I think that your reaction was exactly what could happen. What did I do now? Yeah. If you're about to do something foolish, I try to act beforehand that you do realize there is a bubble coming like really, really soon or something like that.
And the table that we have gotten the farthest in has been on the top 2 tables, so we'll see. I hope that we'll get farther away than that. Because the money comes only at the final tables, as she was already explaining. And usually you can get a decent warning out of these 45 player games because it's going to show the great final table.
Lights.
Yeah, so you are getting a decent warning.
It's really good trick that when you are multi-tabling and if you just miss that you are in the final table, you shouldn't be able to not notice those lights. So it's a plus thing. And you don't need to do anything, they just come. You don't need to do any changes for settings or etc.
I think there is a setting that you need to switch for having the final table lights, but there is like a setting that on stars that you'll need to switch, but I think it's by default it's on.
It must be because I have never clicked any button like that and it's on. It must be by default if it exists. So in a sense, no worries. You shouldn't be worried that you are not having those on. Yeah, it's always awful moment when your heart stops and you're thinking that you are losing or your money disappeared or you have just done a huge mistake and it's all your fault.
But I think that for cash I like the Joom table, and I like the Joom tables when you are playing Joom and you have the automatic rebuy on, because then you can't get you pretty much don't remember even how much have you lost during the session, so you can't get tilted about that in a way. I think it's easier in a way, but when you are getting big stacks also I think it makes possibility for some pretty big collisions, especially for a player that has the most advantages from quite shallow stacked play.
I like the player Montu. He's a regular and you might think that he's from Finland because it sounds like a Finnish word, but he's from Brazil or something like
Chile.
that. Chile.
I think he's one of the best regs in the 45 player games, if I'm not mistaken.
You always see him playing these.
And when we had a flush draw, I think that it was, even though we paid a bit too much, I think that we are getting enough value if we hit it. And Dead Recital comes in for the rescue for settings, table appearance, table display, and show final table background. And
Awesome.
there's also something that I didn't notice, like I like to have the PokerStars lobby like as small as I can get it. And I never saw the text for the settings because it's not until you get the size a bit bigger it shows like what's the settings and what's the tools. And if you are having it on the minimal settings, then you are with minimal settings, then you are just seeing some pictures and you are completely confused on where anything is pretty much.
Yeah, I have to admit that I was switch into that PokerStars 7 till the last minute and I'm still lost with some of the settings. It takes time to get used to it. But isn't that case always with new things? And that's what we do. We adjust our behavior according to the villains.
That's pretty telling that you are describing PokerStars 7 as villain.
I'm trying to be patient and get the most out of it, right? It's not that bad, really.
I think it's still head and shoulders above the rest of the software, but when you are just used to something that just works, then it's always hard to let it go.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't even think about playing mainly somewhere else because, well, I'm playing sit and goes. Where else can I play so many at any time, at any day? Nowhere.
I think this is one of those interesting spots. I think that if we are min raise folding, we are going to fold too much equity from ourselves. So I think shoving this is, even though our stack size looks to be a bit big, but when we are looking at tournament adjusted big blinds, it actually comes pretty self-evident that the optimal move is to shove there with queen 4 suited.
I agree. Would have done the same. Perhaps I like to shove as much as possible because I have some kind of background from hyper turbos and super turbos, so shoving is nice to do.
I think like there are two options to do there. I think another option would be to limp because it then gets pretty awkward for him to shove, and there is like he can also gain some of his equity, and he's playing in position if he just checks, so it's going to be more likely that we are seeing a flop than if we min raise there. But I think shoving is going to be way better most of the time. I actually think that king 8 off is going to also be one of those hands that it's going to be just too good to min raise fold.
Actually, there's something that I'm really happy about at the moment. I agree with you all the time, and I thought that I would have like somewhat different opinion or something. Not saying it's a better or worse, but we seem to be playing pretty similarly. No surprise there in a way, in a sense, but I think you play solid at least.
This would be pretty much a shove here if we would be the first ones to shove, but when the Mistwalker already got all in, there's just not going to be enough value.
True, true. So, are any of our listeners playing still in Storm? What's going on there? How many people still in? Do you have any estimation how long one of these should last on average?
I think on average these are going to last about 40 to 45 minutes. But if you are going to the bitter end, I think those can go for a bit over 2 hours. But there might also be games that you are ending at exactly the first hand, so those are going to balance themselves out. Like usually I think at about 20 minutes in, you are starting to be about 10 big blinds deep effectively if you haven't gotten your stack size increased, and then it's going to be at those spots you are going to start seeing the first tables gone usually.
There's a question from J. Mario. Welcome. We are not playing Sunday Storm tonight, just 45 minutes.
Sunday Storm would take forever, or I would hope it would take forever. I have actually been in one Sunday storm. I think I have been like 70th or 75th or something. So, and I remember my feelings completely. Like I played something like I think 6 hours or 7 hours of the same game, and then I got something like 200 bucks. And when you can see that on the final table, all the payouts are like close to 5 figures or better, it's going to be pretty horrible to. It's going to be a pretty horrible feeling to go away with just 20 buy-ins.
I think that's the downside of the Sunday Storm. You have to play like 10 hours to be worth it, and nothing else is not good enough.
And it might be that 10 hours is worth it, but 9 hours is generally it's not, because it can have like 10. I think it can have a tenfold difference. Do you get eliminated 9 hours in or 10 hours in?
And of course, it's easy to sell that with a dream, like Finnish lottery as well, that it might change your life. Now there is over 100,000 bucks for the winner, I think. I don't know what's the final amount, and there is a 1 million guaranteed. So lots of money available, but the amount of time and effort you need to put on that.
Because of this perch, even though perch is a really nice fish to cook, I think that when he's going to be such a passive player in general, I don't think ace 10 off is going to be strong enough to be shoving here. I think ace queen off would be or ace jack suited would be a shove for me, but ace 10 off is just going to be too weak, even against a perch.
Is he from Canada? I know it! I have nothing against Canadians, but come on, Perch Pete. You need to be from there.
Yeah, this is like going one step further from the country reads. Like if you are seeing a redneck Rob on the tables, is it a surprise that he's from the USA and you can't see him anymore because he can't play? Welcome to the land of the free. Or if you are seeing an Ivan on the tables, surprise, he's from the Russia.
It's really nice sometimes starting to guess that where people are from if you are just playing with one or two tables and you have too much time on your hand. And actually yesterday I hit a random player and he was, or she, you never know, was from Andorra, and that was something that's really rare. And I had to add that to our list. We have a list on the forum that.
And wow, that's going to be an awesome hand. I know it already. I have a good feeling about this.
Wait for it. Yeah! You never should say anything before the river hits. You still don't know it. Yeah, I have had my share of bad beats. Yeah, you can tell.
You can already start celebrating pre-flop when you haven't seen your opponent's cards, because you are so good against their ranges.
Sure, why not?
It was a bit like the 5-3 suited hand that I showed you earlier on.
Yeah. I was in a good position. That's enough for me. Yeah, but I want to have the money.
I try not to get results oriented, so sometimes it works a lot better than other times.
True. But now you are a chip lead there, so it means pressure, pressure, pressure.
And I think I wrote a bit on someone's blog, I think, on the 45 men's, or it was one hand analysis on our forums, that when people are getting with a huge chip lead, when they are getting to the final, final moments or the final tables. Usually it feels like this is now yours to win, and your brain gets adjusted that now you need to win this because you are the or you are the big stack here. But even if you are a really good player and you are having like 40% of the chips, you are still only about 50% to win the game, and that's how you should approach the game. And it's going to be, you are going in for a lot of disappointments if you are thinking that always when you are having the big stack you have already won the game.
That's true.
And any to call on table 3. So table 3 is this one.
I think he meant that king jack.
I don't think king jack is going to be a call there when we are having a shove and a call. Against just the shove, it would be reasonable, because there might be players that are desperation shoving it. But I think against a bet and a call, we don't have enough equity in a three-way pot. But this is how the final table looks like.
So we have seen the colors. And we are almost on money.
So now you should explain the bubble, because you were explaining it when we got from the break. So now it's a good time to explain the bubble.
2 players left. 2 out of money, 7 in the money. Well, that's a simple explanation. But when we are starting to approach the bubble, we are almost there. People are starting to play scared money. Most of the time, the weaker the player, the more scared he will play. And if you have a big stack at that point, it means that you can play aggressively. And at that point, it can mean that you can just double, triple your stack pretty easily if you are playing only against small stacks or medium-sized stacks. And of course, it does have to mean that you will have good spots as well. You shouldn't be just playing foolish and just too wide in any situation.
From the simple explanation, I thought for a moment that we should do like Reddit and have Dayah do a Eli 5 section to our site.
I'm trying.
I think it could actually be good for poker to have an explain like I'm 5 for some general concepts that people are getting wrong time after time again.
Do our listeners agree with that? If you do or if you don't, please let us know, because we have done pretty much many things according to feedback we get from our members. And for example, this night is mainly because somebody asked us to do.
It was Danita,
So please let us know, what do you want to see, what do you want to hear, what do you want to read. It might be able to organize, and there is a feedback thread on our forum, www.pokerimania.com/forum, and there is a feedback thread and comments for all of our coaches. We have coaches for Sit and Goes, MTTs, Omaha, Heads Up, Cash Games, so just shoot us, because then we know what you will want to see. Any feedback is highly appreciated. And jacks. What happens with jacks? We want a pot, obviously. Kauris, we could be now winning something, but it's not for certain before we get into the money. But 2 more places until we win at least 10 bucks. And it looks pretty good at the moment.
So these are going to be the final 3 tables of tonight.
Yeah, Danita, did you already forget about that? We were supposed to do this last week, but then when there were some connection problems with the Poker Stars, we did ad hoc guerrilla coaching. And that was interesting. Free hand evaluations for our members. What's not to like about it?
This guy looks to be a reg. So, like in general, if I'm marking a reg, I want to have about 300 hands that I haven't seen something stupid, and I want to see pretty solid stats. And this is going to be one of those players that is on the edge because he has stolen so little. And we did lose a flip. And we did lose our chip lead as well. Like, he got now 110 chips more than us. We need to win this hand.
Yeah. We are usually very calm when we are playing poker and we take it professionally. But we should be winning. I'm just joking.
If this would be a suited hand, I would be calling, but I think it's going to be... I don't think it's going to be strong enough. I think that for Renault he's going to dominate, or we are going to be flipping, but I don't think that I would be ahead nearly against anything in his range. So I think this is going to be a fold. I think I'm getting like 40% against his range. And there's also his range to be worried about. And an ace-9 off is not playing that well in a three-way pot. We would actually have won the pot, but...
This is our destiny. And I'm so afraid. I'm so afraid. We are not the chip lead. And we have jacks. Now I'm not afraid anymore.
Don't be afraid. Jacks for the win.
I'm not afraid anymore until I see the river.
Don't be afraid. Captain Jack is here.
You say it like it's Captain Jack obvious. Looking good. And we win the pot.
That's not only just a win, that's a crushing win. And I have had like 2 pocket queens, like 1 pocket aces, and like 5 times the pocket jacks for one session. The game is trying to tempt me into doing something stupid with.
Clearly.
I think like for this hand, this Gaimo must have a pretty good hand because there is quite likely that there will be an elimination even if he doesn't get the money in, and he shouldn't have any fold equity here.
Sometimes I'm not referring to that particular hand, but I've been in an awe seeing some of those calls you see in these games.
In the money, in the money. Now we are going to get into more money.
So Kauris, it has happened. We has gotten money. Yeah, some players are way too melodramatic. Are we? Maybe that's the question. I know that we're not the most shocking people ever, but sometimes you need to gather attention somehow, and I don't know what's the nice golden rule about that. What's the best solution? Not to be too boring, not to be too annoying. Of course, you can't be annoying enough if nobody likes you, or if nobody hates you, then you can't be awesome, I think.
Technically, alcohol is a solution.
Yeah, I'm leaving with you. Our own little chemistry.
You heard it from Pokermania first.
It's not our official statement for how to manage bad beats. Let's be clear. It might help, but it's not always recommended. And even more money. What shall we do with all that money? Of course, we have burned some on this session as well, but let's not worry about that. That's interesting. Race.
But so now we have gone from $10 guaranteed to $17 guaranteed.
So what does that mean? I get to go shopping.
Don't spend it all at once.
Like my mom used to say, vaihtorahat visusti takaisin.
Let's enlarge this a bit because this is our last hope.
So we can win up to $89.58.
And I think that even if we win it, we are still losing for the session, so... Oh well.
Oh well, that happens. Maybe we should have played the storm.
Then there's not the problem that if we win the largest one that we are losing for the session still. I think this is one of those hands that people are misplaying a lot. I think like a 9-7 suited is a hand that it's going to be a really profitable shove if it comes to us unopened. But I think that people are afraid to shove these connected and suited hands. There are like surprising facts, and there are up for debate. Does God exist? Can you win consistently with pocket jacks?
You can't.
Of course you can, you have seen today.
Like 3 times is not consistently.
It works every time until it doesn't.
So that's how you approach to certain things.
I think that's the right way to approach pocket jacks, to not be desperate about those.
So you play them until you lose and then you don't play it anymore. That's the problem. It looks pretty. You don't want to let it go, but you always hate it when you see the flop. It's like with the boys in general. You should let some of them go, but they just look so pretty. Oh dear. So your range for button shove or mint raise.
If these guys would be competent, I think that we could shove pretty much any 2 cards. But I don't think that these guys would know the ICM implications of this situation, so I think that we would be folding something like 10-3 off. We could be limping and stabbing with it though, but I don't think it's a profitable shove.
I agree. If they are calling too wide, we shouldn't be playing every single hand. But Pretty has been pretty aggressive on the final table.
I'm pretty sure that we don't need to worry about it anymore.
No pun intended. But here on the final table, the blinds are just being so increasingly huge. It's way profitable to shove wide.
Yeah, it's just you need to have some cards when you are having still 5 people behind you. I think there has been interesting research on that the players with the female avatars are getting bluffed more often than the players with male avatars. So I'm thinking, for example, for these players, the Svennovasso and Tolhot Blonde, if they are playing a game that they are losing the most equity, if they are getting shoved on pretty aggressively, is it optimal to have an avatar here that would encourage players to do things that is going to make them waste equity? Like, I don't know, you should have something scary and strong there to trying to discourage action. And when I said that Britty is pretty much gone,
You
now
were
he's
pretty wrong.
yeah.
Ah.
So in these games, even though you are getting yourself in a horrible situation, you can still, even when you are getting yourself to a horrible situation, you can still like win 2 or 3 hands in a row, and then you are back in the game.
And in a nasty chip lead, if you look at that on our part. But I don't have any picture on my avatar because I don't want to draw any unnecessary attention. Let's say it in that way. I don't want people to remember my avatar face because then I might be, I don't know, I wouldn't be as unknown as I could be otherwise, even though the difference wouldn't be that huge. If there's even a small chance that you can have a small extra edge in a poker, why wouldn't you take it?
And I think out of these players, I think like every other player except this Bretty has been played this final table way too passively. So I think this has been a good final table for us. I think that we have gotten pretty good equity on this final table. Only bad thing is that Bretty is on our right side, and when he plays pretty aggressively from cutoff and button, it has removed it has lessened our options by a lot.
Flaming aces for avatar. Someone just said that they tried to put aces, but it was denied because it could be misleading. That people would just look at your avatar and just, okay, look, you have aces or sitting out
Yeah.
name or something.
Yeah, I laughed out loud on our chat when someone said that he tried to add the sitting out note on his avatar.
Actually, I saw one of those a while ago, but it was a long time ago, so they might have changed the ruling for that many times afterwards. But don't try to put it.
And I don't know about. I think that it will be pretty much the same, that the player that looks to be strong would probably be bluffed less. So it's also in a game that do you want your opponents to be really aggressive on you? Because we are the second largest stack, and even when this guy is 100%, I don't think this would be a call. Because we need to be ahead of his range, and we are not enough ahead of his range with ace-6 off. Let's actually mark that hand when it comes here.
We could have one hand that we could evaluate for the end of this session.
Even when he's the smallest stack and he should be less risk averse, I think that we can in this situation add some pressure on him, as he has when he has given every single big blind to us or the Bretty. So why not get his big blinds if he wants to give them up for good use in my stack? I don't mind.
But you need to remember that that's really small hand size there. Generally, he has been playing really passively.
I think it was also for the previews. I remember that he's folding a ton pre-flop on his big blinds. But this is only for the 4 and 3-handed game, I think. And that would be an interesting spot if he would have shoved there, because then we would have called with the ace-deuce off. That's a weaker hand than the ace-6 suited, because the ICM situation is completely different when there's only 3 players remaining and our stack size would be the lowest.
Mm. It was kind of interesting that he was mean betting, because previously he has been pretty much shoving all the time.
I think that you should think about what would make you most money, or what kind of image would make you most money in the game, and go from there. And do you want that you are getting bluffed, or do you want that you are getting as much easy chips that you are? Now that we are having the second largest stack, I think that the ace-5 off is also going to be a hand that's...
It's good to mark.
Yeah, this is also one of those situations. These are completely ICM situations. And I don't actually think that 3-4 off, even against a player that's slightly too passive, I don't think it's going to be good enough.
And it gets even better. Cute cow. Oh yeah, I remember that. It is a cute cow, that result. It's really nice one.
And we are going all in with this hand. There's nothing that can happen in this hand that will make us not go all in.
Did you consider min raising?
I did consider min raising, but I think that if our opponent just calls, it's going to be way worse for our equity than if we are. So I didn't want to give him an option to flat. If he would be a player that would only 3-bet or fold, I think then min raising with ace-jack off would be pretty good. But when he's a player that also can call, we don't have enough hands on him, then it's going to be better. And this Bretty guy has been pretty much spot on shoving when we don't have anything, and
folding when we have something.
And Kauris is going to be our online NHL data bank.
We are in heads up. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in heads up.
Now everything you know about ICM goes out of the window. We are only playing for chips anymore.
And if you have time and possibility, you should just respond to the good things that people tell you. Like good luck, thank you, good luck, you too. Because it's nothing away from you, but if it keeps the recreational players happy and they want to keep on playing What's not to love about it?
Yeah, that's something that I think you should do that if there are people that are happy, but usually the chat even on online it seems to be quite toxic in these poker tables.
Yeah. Usually you can just pretty much ignore most of the stuff, and if you're multitabling most of the time, you just don't have any time or any possibility to read what's going on there. But for example, right now, if there's a nice guy who says good luck, why not to say it back? You don't need to be like a rude or nasty or anything else. You want to keep him playing, like in the future as well. And that's something that some people ignore, which
And
is a bit shame.
I think the not worst thing to do would be to be rude on other players on the table, and especially if you are rude for the players that are not playing as well as you think you should be playing, because I think that's going to be the worst, because then you are going to remove players that would probably would probably be good to keep on playing. And
Oh
this is
wow.
this is pretty nice.
Yeah.
So Kauris asked, "Are we going to win anything today?" We did. So I think we won some buy-ins, but I don't think that we won any money today.
Quick note to that your previous comment. The other stupid thing to do is that if you are playing with Rex, why should you tell them that they played some hand wrong in your opinion? Because then it means that the villain who plays multiple times against you may improve his or her game by looking at that hand and learning something.
Yeah. So we can see that we played 12 games. We are almost break even. We won like one buy-ins, or pretty close to one buy-ins, but we lost some because the game that we won was $7 game. But now there is time to take from our reports. Let's get the hands. Like there is the hands report. So marked hands only for today. We need to close Poker Stars to open the Hold'em Resources calculator, and let's look at some ICM situations against Bretty.
Small aces are the hands that you are pretty often in trouble with.
This is like a hand that I should have taken it to a replayer. Like this is a hand that I think that even if Bretty shoves for 100% of his hands, and that's what he should do, I think this is one of those hands that we need to fold even against 100%. So let's see if I'm right or am I wrong.
Yeah, so Death Result got a fan. Ah, good luck and well played.
And Kauri said that not marked 2-7 off any 2 call spot. I don't think that we had an any 2 call spot with 7 deuce off, but we can check it. So in here, if Bretty is shoving any 2, then our calling range would be ace 8 suited would be the worst hand that we could call with. And I think something like ace 10 off is going to be solid against the general villain there. If he's unknown, I think he's going to open something like 75%, so he's not going to play he's going to play only the pretty hands, and then we are going something like ace 10 suited, ace jack off, king queen suited, sevens plus. This would be the range that I would call in real game if I don't know enough about the opponent. Let's then replay this other hand. This is ace 5 off, and this is a pretty similar situation. We are second in chips and Bretty shoves. And I think in this case, it's also going to be a hand that villain should shove 100%, and I don't think that ace 5 off is going to be good enough hand to be calling with. But let's check it. And this is actually not a spot that villain should be shoving any 2. And even then it's going to be pretty close. And I think in general, this would be closer to an any 2 shove spot against the general player, because general player would want to have a pre-hand here. And I think that if we are editing the wrong range here. Like, if we are second in chips solidly, we don't want to get it in against the biggest stack player. And I think probably something like this would be the general range that the general player is calling. I think they are calling a bit too much with aces and a bit too. But when we are having that kind of a range, I think then it comes with any 2 hand for him. And even with any, if he would shove any 2 here, then ace-5 off would be a good call. And I think that's one spot that I think people should shove more than Nash in general, because I think people are calling less than Nash in those situations, even with ICM baked in. But let's go look at the deuce 7 off. Let's add a filter here. Hand values, hold card range selection, hold'em hand range, deuce 7 off. And let's try to see what Kauris is talking about. I think it should be one of these hands. This shouldn't be it. We are not in a position to call. And might this be the hand that the tall hot blonde goes all in for 2,500 chips, and we are with 600 chips with 7 deuce off.
Last 2 tables.
Yeah. Could you, Kauris, confirm, is this the spot you were looking on?
Not that we are waiting for or anything. Yeah.
I think this is a spot that this would be an any 2 call spot if we would have something like 28% pot odds. So like if opponent is shoving something like 1,900 chips, then this is an any 2 call spot. But I don't think it's an any 2 call spot when our pot odds is going to be only 34%. And we are going for a custom structure here. Actually, we are going to clear it all, and let's go for 80 to 20, so it will have some ICM factors input. And Kauris says that very close to an any 2. I don't think it's going to be even close. I think it's going to be like top 50% at most, probably top 40, top 30%. So if we are thinking that Tall Hot Blonde is calling or shoving 35%, which I generally think that they are not, then it's going to be that like 7 deuce off is going to be minus 0.8% of the price pool, and it's going to be the not worst hand here to call with. And I think in general people are going to shove a bit too little here, probably a bit too many aces and a bit too many deuces and not enough of suited and connected hands, something like this. And when opponents are shoving about something like that, then our calling range would be 56%, so it's going to be quite wide, and it will include a lot of suited hands. But the 7 deuce off is going to be pretty horrible call here. I don't think that even if Tall Hot Blonde is going to shove any 2 hands, any 2 cards, I still don't think it's going to be profitable. And I don't think that deuce 7 off is still going to even be close of calling. Can't be closer than that though. But it's still like, even if an opponent would shove any two in a spot that makes no sense for him to shove any two, pocket 7 deuce off, it's still not going to be a call.
But he wouldn't be shoving ever any two there.
And Kauris says that Tolhot blonde maybe push this something like 50% because blind is coming. I think that people are doing a lot more of those desperation shoves when they are having the next hand in the blinds, and like the UTG +1 hand is going to be with a range that's going to be closer to the equities and not being that much for desperation equity. So I think this is one of those hands. It's actually really good that Kauris took this up. I think that's still because that's the best way to learn. You ask questions and you get answered, and then you can learn something about the spot. And this is all about. Also, this is all about the stack size. Like if we are having something like 1,900 chips here, so he would have about 3 big blinds, a bit more. Then this comes to be an any two spot, pretty much no matter his range. And like now, cutoff would shove 35.7%, and then the 7 deuce off would be. I would still call 7 deuce off probably with those kind of pot odds, but this is going to be about how much I think that we will need the pot odds to be.
It was a good question. Thank you, Kauris. And now we can all learn something from here.
And I said that we are going to have about 2 hour session, and we are right on the money about that. So we had a 2 hour session on 45 minutes after the ante changes, so there was a lot of early play with some a bit deeper stacks, and I hope that there were some interesting spots. We could also see Dayah here. Like I think it's the first time this year, so always nice to have someone here to speak with me.
It was nice being here with you. Thank you for inviting me.
So next week, what do we have on Poker Mania? We are having on Tuesday. We are having Ulost Bros. He's having a Finnish coaching on Six Max cash games, and then Kyber is having Pot Limit Omaha on Wednesday in English. On Tuesday we are having Spin and Go public-private coaching with IXX and me, so it should be pretty interesting. And then on Wednesday there is going to be Kyberi with Pot Limit Omaha in English. Thursday is going to be Julos Pro in Finnish for Six Max cash games. And then there's going to be on Friday Kyberi with Pot Limit Omaha cash games in Finnish. And on next Sunday I will be up here with something about MTTs or sit and goes. I don't really know yet. I'll probably get some idea from the feedback thread on our forums. So on pokerimania.com/forum, there's a feedback thread on the insiders that you can only access when you have registered to our site. So, and let's also say that if you are watching this on Twitch, please subscribe to our channel so you can get an email notification every time we go online. And if you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel and like the video. It means a lot to us. And also join our forum. We have a friendly forum for English and Finnish side both. But this is it for today. Is there anything you want to say in the end?
It was a blast. Thank you for having me again. Lots of interesting stuff coming up on Pokerimania. You can find the timetable on our forum as well if you happen to forget about something. Probably nothing else. Thank you for chatting with us, asking questions, and please join us next time on Tuesday. See you on the forums.
Yeah, so if you are going to sleep, have a good night. If you are still playing poker, may this be a winning night for you. Bye!
Bye.